Hey everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is your editor-in-chief for AMC Movie News, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the AMC Movie News headquarters in Burbank, California. And I do indeed have a gob of licorice stuck in my back tooth that I am unable currently to dislodge.
Also here is AMC's Maude Garrett.
Yes, I'm very aware. In before comments that I have a panda on my sweater.
Panda.
Yes. I like that panda. It's cute.
Hello, panda.
And AMC's Mark Ellis.
My over-under is 5 topics before John successfully unlodges the piece of liquor in his back tooth into the rest of his body.
Oh, no.
It's going to be one of those days.
All right, so with the release of the new Avengers Age of Ultron now just over 3 weeks away, many people have begun speculating about what the famous Marvel end credits scene will be in the film. However, director Joss Whedon is now saying that there is no end credits at the end of Ultron. Whedon said the following: "There is nothing at the very end, and that is not a fake out. We want people to know, so don't sit there for 10 minutes and then go, son of a bee, I'll kill them." Marvel President Kevin Feige went on to clarify that there would be a tag, but no extra scene at the very end of the credits. Avengers Age of Ultron hits AMC theaters on May 1st. John, do you believe Whedon when he says there will be no end credit scene?
I actually do believe him for now. Now, let's remember, that infamous shawarma scene was like filmed. They just so happened to have everybody in town, and they filmed it like a week before the movie came out. So I believe him that they don't have one. I believe him that they don't have plans for one. But I also know that we're still 3 weeks away and something can happen. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter because it's all now just a matter of semantics. Now there's a new terminology. Now there's the term tag, which means a post-credit scene that happens halfway through the credits or a little bit into the credits. Something we've always known as a post-credit scene, regardless of when it shows up. Whatever happens after the credits start, right? But now there is the true end, as Kevin Feige calls it, the end credit scene, and the tag, which is like a mid-credit scene. So at least we're going to get one of those. I will still be surprised if it's not something related to Ant-Man. I think it's because I think they know they've got to do a lot to push Ant-Man at this point. But for now, yeah, I buy it. I think I will not wait around until the end of the movie. I think once I see that tag, as they're calling it now, that end credit scene, I think then it's okay to get up and leave. Maude, what do you think? Do you think we're going to see something there?
I'm a little bit disappointed that there's not going to be one because this has been happening since 2008 with Iron Man, and it's a great way to kind of marry all of the franchises together, you know, at the post-credit scene. Now, my favorite part going to the movies, especially a Marvel movie, is anyone who did get up as the credits were rolling to make an exit. I'm like, rookie, what are you doing? This is a Marvel movie. Hello. With my nerd glasses. So now that they're taking that away, it's like, no, us fanboys and girls have really come accustomed to this. And look how smug Joss looks in this picture, by the way.
Look how smug
He's like, you're not going to get one.
That's a weird look. That looks like 50 Shades of Whedon. I don't need to see anything.
But what a shame to not utilize this, because this has become, like I said, we've become accustomed to this, and I think that this is a great platform where we can see the next little bite, the next thing to keep us hungry and wanting more. So yeah, what a shame.
I'm bummed. I mean, now if they do that tag and that serves the purpose that we needed to see in there, then that's fine with me. I am upset because it's the Avengers Age of Ultron, and now as a fanboy, I'm expecting 2 post-credit scenes. I know that's a lot to ask from a film that already gave us 2.5 hours of what is hopefully going to be great action. We'll all find that out tomorrow night, some of us. So I want to see the Punisher and Spider-Man eating shawarma after the credits end. That'd be sweet, okay? But I appreciate Joss Whedon coming out and saying that you don't have to wait around. I think that's a nice thing for him to do if that is indeed what he's doing. I think it's a horrific mistake if he's saying that just to pull the wool over our eyes. Like when you had James Gunn and you had Chris Pratt in studio, and James Gunn said that we didn't make Guardians, we made it as a standalone film. And then you see the movie and you're like, no, that was totally set up for a sequel. That's one thing. But to have us say, oh, he said that we don't stick around, so then we leave, and then we find out from our friends that, no, you should have hung out. I don't like that at all. So unless they come out and say, you need to stick around now, then I'm just going to get up and leave. I take Whedon at his word.
Joss isn't doing this to be nice, though. This isn't a gesture. This is so that he doesn't get death threats.
Oh,
You know,
yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, he's like saying, don't call me a son of a bee. I'm not the bad guy here. I'm just helping you understand that, this isn't happening. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, it is unfortunate because Marvel has now made us accustomed to two now and both of them in Captain America and Winter Soldier were awesome. I love both of them in that one. Were there two in Guardians? Because there's the one with Howard the Duck that was at the very, was there a mid-credit one? I cannot remember. Dennis, can you remember if there was a mid-credit scene? I guess the Baby Groot one kind of counts, but that was very early on in the credits. But yeah,
and that's kind of what they like to do is you have a funny one, then you have a more serious one, and that's the way it works. Now, here's an interesting thing too: is that Joss Whedon may not have filmed anything, but the Russo brothers, maybe they get everybody together for the premiere next week, and they're like, you know what? Since we have everybody in town, let's all film something because we're going to be helming the rest of this franchise going forward. Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. I just like them to have a blanket statement, even tell every usher at an AMC theater to say, hey, you guys might want to hang out till the end of the credits. Just let us know, okay? I get it's an Easter egg and we got to find it, but just let us know if we got to hang out. That's all.
All right, what's next?
Some of you will remember that last month, reports began to circulate that a Tron 3 was in the works, and now those reports seem to be getting verified. According to The Hollywood Reporter, actress Olivia Wilde has signed on to reprise her role as Cora in the new film and will be joining fellow returning lead Garrett Hedlund, who is set to return as Sam Flynn. The report also claims that production on the new Tron film will begin in Vancouver later this year. Mark, will you be excited for a new Tron movie, and do you think it was a good move to bring Olivia Wilde back?
I won't be excited for a new Tron movie, but I'll be looking forward to it. I'll say that. And the fact that they are bringing Olivia Wilde back, certainly I'm intrigued. I mean, come on. I have a pulse. Yes, I'm very excited to see Olivia Wilde back in the franchise. The fact that her and Garrett Hedlund are going to be returning, I think it lends some sort of credibility to the sequel going forward because, again, it's like I didn't love that Tron as much as I wanted to love it because I'd never seen the original one. So I was just looking at this one and I was ready to be a Tron geek for the rest of my life. And it was cool. And so I think that this one, I'll be looking forward to it. I can't get too jacked about it. It's a credit that Olivia Wilde's in it, though.
Yeah, I can't be excited for Tron 3. Now, it's not that I'm not looking forward to it. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by it, but the last Tron film, just for me, underwhelmed. I thought it just did not live up to the hope. I'm not going to say the hype. It didn't live up to the hope that I think a lot of us had for 3. But it had enough glowing parts in it. No pun intended, actually.
Yes,
it wasn't, honestly. It had enough. It had enough good parts in it. Let me say that. That makes me go, okay, I can see why they're going to do another one. Okay, and I'll be in and I'll go watch it. But I can't be excited. The Olivia Wilde part of that thing, or Olivia Wow as I call her. Look, I'll go on record now. She is the most attractive human being, like man, woman, whatever. She's better looking than The Rock. She is the most attractive human being in Hollywood today. And I remember, she's so completely charming. I remember, and one of many reasons to be very envious and jealous of Jason Sudeikis, but I remember talking to her I went to Vegas to talk to her for The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, which I thought she was actually pretty charming.
That was a name drop. Sorry.
But so I go in and I'm talking to her, and I say something about like, we didn't know that you had like really good comedic chops. Like you actually fit in really well with guys like Steve Buscemi and Steve Carell. Like you were really good in comedy. And she reached out and touched my hand to say, "You are so sweet." And as she did that, I'm like, yeah, no, seriously, like, wow. So, and her character was a very intriguing. What you could do with the ISOs in this movie, I hope that's through what they're going to go, because there's a lot of new mythology they could create with this whole Tron universe. If they go that route, which I think bringing her back maybe indicates they might, then I think we could be in for something good, Maud.
Look, because Tron, which was out, 5 years ago now, it made big dollars, but it didn't really get everyone, our faces weren't melting off, which they should have been. I'm exactly like you, Alice. I never saw the original, but this Tron notion, I was like, going inside a computer? Yes. But it just didn't live up to what it could have been. So the fact that there's a sequel, they're getting the same cast back on board to do it again, I'm excited. I'm excited because it can be the movie that we want it to be. Now, Garrett Hedlund, it kind of felt like a few studios were really trying to make him the next big thing.
Yeah.
I want him to be, because his name's Garrett and so's mine. And that means I'm biased.
That's good enough for me.
But I mean, he was in movies like Aragon, which just didn't do well. This one didn't really launch him to that next level, but they're banking on him again. So they do believe in this guy to really bring in the big bucks. And they did before, but Olivia's the draw card.
Yeah.
100% for sure. And the other draw card for this is if they get Daft Punk back on to do the soundtrack, because the thing that
out.
everyone spoke about Tron.
The only
was
thing
sa-
everybody spoke about Tron.
was the sounds. And that's what I'm looking forward to again. If they bring Olivia and not Daft Punk, it's like, ooh,
It's
is
like
that
Star Wars
enough?
without John Williams. How can you do it?
Exactly.
Well, but look at the other side too. Like, so you do want to change up something. So what if, like, say instead of like a Daft Punk, this time they go a little bit different direction, bring in Nickelback.
Oh, that's not even funny.
Nickelback.
What are you talking
That's
about?
horrendous.
I thought you were serious
Nickelback.
for a second. I was like,
Yeah.
Nickelback
no.
soundtrack.
I'll never walk into an
No.
arcade again if that's the case.
I nearly vomited on the table.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Sinead's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. And those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Sinead, what do we got?
Warner Brothers Pictures has just picked up the rights and is going into development on a feature film adaptation of the popular game Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's challenges players to survive for 5 nights as a security guard in a demented pizza entertainment restaurant where homicidal and possessed animatronics roam the halls in search of their next victims. Maud, buy or sell a Five Nights at Freddy's movie?
Bye. And I'll tell you why.
Musical episode.
Because this is a video game where it's become a cult hit. I mean, to kind of put it into perspective, this is the go into the mirror and whisper Candyman 3 times to it. This is
Right.
the movie you challenge your friends to play with lights off and a really good headset. I bought the game to stream it live and I freaked out. I couldn't even do it. I couldn't bring myself to play the game because it's that freaky. This is like the pinnacle of horror video game, survival horror. So to make this into a movie about animatronics that want to kill you at night and you're a security guard roaming around just trying to live, this is fantastic. I hate horror. I don't like this genre remotely, but I'm so excited for horror fans to really have, like, this is going to whet their appetite. This is going to be fantastic. And the team that bought the rights to this and are working on it, I think is the same team that's doing the remake of It. These guys are the most sadistic people on the universe, getting all the things that, live in everyone's nightmares and bringing it to life. So I'm just excited for you horror fans out there because this is going to not only get the credibility of games moving over to movies, which some work, and we're kind of doing a little bit more and
No,
more.
some have not worked.
None
have ever worked in the history of mankind.
Well,
Mortal Kombat worked, and we're still waiting for the next one, which we could get very
We're
soon.
seeing it happen more and more, and the possibility that it could work, and this could be a movie from a game that does, and that's exciting.
Yeah, no, I love Mortal Kombat, but in
Your
love, I
soul
also
is
acknowledge it's an awful movie, but I love it. All video game movies suck, and yet I'm going to buy this. Now, I don't know, is Five Nights at Freddy, does that have a console version? Or is it straight
If
mobile?
it is, it's going to be on Xbox Live or PSN.
Okay,
at the
because
moment
I
it's on
played
Steam.
it. I played it on the mobile version of it, which I think is what it was originally created at.
No, you got to play it on a Mac or a PC.
No, I played it. Well, you had no. I see. Here's how I got it. I was laying in bed, and I got my tablet out, and I had a friend of mine keep telling me, you got to try this game, Five Nights at Freddy's. And first of all, I should say this: no video game in the history of video games have ever been even remotely scary. I mean, I've looked. It's a video game. There's nothing. It's a game. Even if you make things that are supposed to be scary, it's a game. None of it's scary.
Whoa, no, it's so much more scary because you are playing that game and you are the character within the game.
Yeah, there's just a disconnect there for me personally that I've never found
Play
any video
Outlast.
game even remotely frightening. But so I'm laying in bed. Friends say, "Oh, you try this game, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's really fun." Blah blah, and it's funny. There's the voice recordings of the old security guard. It was really really funny. I'm like, okay, so I load it up. I swear, about 30 seconds in, I'm like, nope. And I put it down. The game is so creepy. Yeah. It's so creepy, yet funny at the same time.
Nothing funny about it.
Yeah, so I tried it again, like an hour later, picked up again. Okay, because it's at night. I'm laying in bed and it's dark, and like another minute later, nope. It's got that potential. The story of this is really rather interesting. Look, this could be the next in a very long line of horrible attempted game adaptations. But I think there's some potential here. So for me, this is going to be a buy.
This is a huge buy for me if they do it right, and it sounds like they have the right team in place. This could be Night at the Museum, except you're leaving behind all that family crap. This is just trying to scare people. And who hasn't been to a Chuck E. Cheese and you see the Country Bears playing, you're like, I wonder what is inside their creepy heads. Or even like when I was a kid, they had the Teddy Ruxpin dolls. Thank God my parents never got me a Teddy Ruxpin doll, because that's the scariest looking thing in retrospect I've ever seen. Something like that coming to life is such a cool premise. And I was tooting your horn until about a week ago when I went up to my brother's place and played his PS4, and I played that PT, which was like the precursor to what was supposed to be Silent Hill 4. I was scared out of my mind playing that. So video games can do the horror genre very well, and I think this is going to be a great crossover.
All right, what's next?
According to The Wrap, the Weinstein Company is actively developing a remake of the 1999 comedy She's All That. The original film featured Freddie Prinze Jr. as a popular high school student who bets his friends that he can transform an unpopular wallflower, played by Rachel Lee Cook, into their school's prom queen. The original made over $100 million at the box office. John, buy or sell a remake of She's All That?
I am surprisingly if I'm going to buy this, because don't look at it as a remake of She's All That, although it is. Look at it as another incarnation of My Fair Lady, because really that's what this is. Rachel Lee Cook's character is the Eliza Doolittle, Freddie Prinze, who now does such a great job as one of the voice actors on Star Wars Rebels. Freddie Prinze was Professor Higgins. And look, lots of movies are My Fair Lady incarnations. So just think of this as another incarnation of My Fair Lady. And I love My Fair Lady and the whole concept of it. So set it in a high school, that's fine. You set it up right, you do it right. Forget whatever you think about the original film. Just forget about it. You set this up right, a My Fair Lady incarnation set in modern day high school. That could be really interesting. So I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt for now and call it a buy.
Look, I usually weigh buy or sell when I first see this bit of news, and usually it's in my Twitter feed, and it's my instant gut reaction. And in this case, I went, oh, why? But the more I think about it, I mean, you have to look at these teen flicks coming out at the moment. There was Duff, and it's just another label that we can put on an ugly or unattractive woman. And it's just like, come on, this is what we shouldn't be feeding. If we did a She's All That and flipped it, because I want a new spin on this, because it's so cliched. We've seen the My Fair Lady time and time again. True. Flip it. The popular girl, the bloody cheerleader or whatever we're going to call her, she sees the mathlete, the dude who's got his braces and a zit the size of his eyeball, and she's going to transform him and make him popular. That could be cool.
Wasn't that called Can't Buy Me Love?
Was it?
With the dude
Can't
from
Buy Me Love, yeah.
Well, the dude from not ER, but from
Patrick Dempsey.
Patrick Dempsey, the Grey's Anatomy. I'm naming every medical show in history except the right one. The one with Patrick Dempsey. That was kind of that.
Okay. That came out in 1987. So I mean, I agree with John's point. Is that you can keep remaking these kind of movies set in high school, because you need to update it generationally. However, I'm going to sell this because they're pitching it as a remake of She's All That. Like, if My Fair Lady is a name that stands out, that has stood the test of time, She's All That did well at the box office, and there's a generation of people that saw it and liked it, much like I Can't Hardly Wait, but it never got to the level of like an American Pie or something like that, where just that franchise is going to sell tickets. I don't think so. I don't think you need to rely on the franchise She's All That to get this premise across. I think people would be interested to see it anyway if you get a talented leads that kids have heard of that want to go see this, and that's like what their version of high school is. I agree with you, Mon. I think it'd be cooler if it was a female who's trying to make over a guy, or you have some other spin with it. But I think that the fact that She's All That has to be like they have to make it look like, oh no, we got to revive that movie. That's why I sell it.
Sinead, I'm just curious, as a contemporary modern day 16-year-old high school student, like, do you think there's some guy out there who can come along and transform you into the prom queen?
I mean, I went to 3 proms in my high school.
Wow.
No, that's not a joke, but
that's impressive.
This is very not exciting to me. First of all, I love She's All That. It just is one of those movies. And I watched Boys and Girls, and I love Freddie Prinze Jr. So I'm all about it. But I agree. Like, we've seen this over and over. So like, why is this the only reason that this is making news is because they've attached it to She's All That. Like,
right.
But this movie comes out on the Disney Channel like once a year. We've seen it. I mean, Sarah Hyland did it and she was the popular guy befriending the nerdy kid. I forget what it was called, but the exact She's All That, but flipped. The movie itself, is it realistic? No. But I mean, it's fun. This doesn't excite me.
And just let me clarify, it was a joke, folks. Sinead is not 16 years old. She is not. There's still some people out there who believe that, but she's not 16 years old.
Well, they'll believe it even more now.
She's 37.
What if it was a She's All That down the track? So it is Freddie Prinze Jr.
She's All That down the track.
And it is Rachel Lee Cook.
That would be great.
Because you always leave it after the prom and they realize that they love each other. But yeah, let's go 15, 20 years
And you still flip it, because now Freddie is really ugly.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need to make you
artist.
Over. Yeah. I need to remake my husband. And flips it all around. That's the story of my life. All right, what's next?
The first official poster for the upcoming video game adaptation of Hitman Agent 47 has hit the web. Based on the top-selling award-winning video game franchise, Hitman Agent 47 is an all-new motion picture about an elite and genetically engineered assassin, known only by the last two digits 47 of a barcode tattooed on the back of his neck. His latest target is a young woman on the run from powerful and clandestine forces. The mission brings startling revelations about the lethal agent and his prey, hurtling them on a collision course with their pasts. Hitman Agent 47 hits AMC theaters on August 28th. Mark, do you buy or sell the poster to Hitman Agent 47?
Here we go. We were just talking about how we need to have a good video game movie adaptation. Could it be Hitman Agent 47? From the poster, I don't know, but I'll buy the poster. I think it's a cool looking poster. What I love about it is that it's almost like Hitman is the name of the actor and that it says Hitman in this movie.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool way to do it, and it appeals to the fans of the video game franchise. So the way that this poster looks, how it's no frills, it tells you exactly what you're getting into. You got a mysterious dude. There's going to be a lot of shooting in it. So I like when a poster tells you what the movie is going to be about, but doesn't spoil too much of the plot. So I'm totally buying this poster.
With this particular poster, I'm going to sell it. If you're looking at it going, why does it look so familiar? It's because they're using guns instead of knives or swords to make the Iron Throne. Look at it. It is screaming Game of Thrones. How can you guys not see the parallels there? It's that kind of the same.
Is that a chair? Is he? I don't think he's sitting on a
It's
chair
not a
of
chair,
guns.
but it's still got that same kind of fanned out, weapons behind. I don't know. It just looks a little Game of Thronesy to me. And when you were saying, is this going to be the video game movie adaptation?
I don't know about that, yeah.
I've been looking on the forums about this particular movie in the gaming community, and more often than not, there's not a vote of confidence behind it. I was on board when Timothy Oliphant was Hitman. I believed that. And then he fell off the project, and our dude... What's his name?
No. Timothy Oliphant never fell off the project. Timothy Oliphant was in the first Hitman movie, and then
Which was good.
And this was supposed to be Paul Walker.
Was it?
Yeah, this was originally going to be Paul Walker before he passed away.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and Zachary Quinto is also on board and stuff like that. And it is the same group of producers doing this Hitman that did the previous one, and that actually is part of the reason why I'm going to buy this. First of all, I do like the poster actually, and part of the reason I like the poster is because it is kind of reminiscent to me of the Expendables, Game of Thrones a bit, but. I always say with a poster, I really dig when a poster gives me in one frame a glimpse and an idea into either one of the personalities in the movie or the story as a whole caught in kind of one picture. And I think just getting an idea, looking at Rupert Friend in there, that as Hitman, that's kind of a cool kind of outlay. Look, this movie may be another disastrous in a long line of video game movies, but the fact that it's the same producers from the last one who have all acknowledged that the last one had its failings and now they're retrying it again. They want to correct on those mistakes. I like the cast they got together. I kind of like the first trailer. So while it's still a video game movie, I buy the poster and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the movie as a whole.
I don't like Rupert Friend as Hitman.
Really?
I just from playing the video games and knowing how Hitman is, I looking at Rupert in this, it just doesn't feel like Hitman to me.
But all the guns are fanned out. It's a neat gun rack.
I think
And
I'm gonna
remember,
be
about
shocked,
one out of every 500 people who actually go to see the movie played the game. So that's not going to be an issue for them.
I'm definitely coming from a gamer point of view. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
As many of you know, Academy Award-nominated director John Singleton has been working on a Tupac Shakur biopic movie for some time, but it now appears he's off the project. According to reports, House of Cards and Homeland director Carl Franklin is stepping in to take over the project, with speculation that Singleton's departure was due to creative differences. John, do you buy or sell Franklin taking over Tupac from John Singleton?
I have no problem with Franklin. I mean, I like all the shows that he's participated in as a director, especially House of Cards. I think he got an Emmy nomination actually for his for one of the episodes he directed. I could be mistaken about that, but I think he did. No problem with that. But the thing about John Singleton is, not only was this kind of his passion project, he worked for a long time to try to get this going and working with Tupac's family and trying to get everything going, but he worked with Tupac. He directed Tupac before he knew him. And so that kind of made him, for a lot of different reasons, not just that one, but for many different reasons, I thought he was the right guy to direct it. So it's unfortunate that he's off. So I sell it overall, but that doesn't mean I don't think that in the hands of this new director, it can't still be really good. It absolutely could. But I thought for a lot of reasons, Singleton was the right guy to do it. So on that basis alone, I got to sell it. Mark?
I'm still going to buy the project because Singleton is a guy who he has such a singular vision as to what he wants to accomplish.
Singular vision.
He's
yes.
There's the pun. The guy's a straight shooter, and if something goes wrong, he doesn't want to be involved with it, and he'll stand up and tell you that right off the bat. So there's more than one way to tell a story about Tupac. I think this is very similar to the Edgar Wright leaving Ant-Man situation, where he had a way that he wanted to tell Ant-Man. It didn't jive with what the brain trust at Marvel wanted, and so they parted ways amicably, it seems. And I think this is the same kind of situation. There is a chance that John Singleton had been working on this for so long, and he did know Tupac. Maybe, and creative differences is such a loose term that it's hard to really define. Is it the way that they were going to tell the story? Is it the actor that they want to play Tupac? So I think that as long as you have somebody talented behind the camera who can direct the movie, and it seems like if you're coming from Homeland and House of Cards, you clearly have that ability. So the fact that John Singleton isn't doing it, it's a disappointment, but I can still buy the project.
I'm going to sell it only because there's quite a few red flags flaring around now. Like you were saying, creative differences is quite a broad term, but in the reports that they're putting through, it's major creative differences. And what I get from that is you've got John saying, I know who this man is. I can tell his story. As we were saying, he's the best guy for the job. And then when the studio's like, no, you got to, stick with us or leave. And he's going, okay, I'm out. That's never a good sign. And so now it's like we've got a new director coming on board to tell the story in another way, in a way that's not necessarily his creative vision. So he's like having to succumb to the needs of whatever it was that made John leave. Another thing that John was saying is like, if the movie doesn't work, then it impacts him forever. But the studio will live through it. It's just like, oh, well, it was just one flop that we have, moving on to the next project. But for John, it was like, no, this is something that I've poured my life and soul into. And if it doesn't work, that lives with me forever. So for him to kind of save his own reputation by moving away from this project, flag. So that's why I'm selling.
I can't agree with you on the whole thing that a studio just goes, oh, another flop, whatever. People lose jobs over flops. Studios care very much about every single $1 million that does or does not get made. There's nobody out there that wants this movie to be a financial success more than the studio does. They want it to be a success more than anybody else. But yeah, when you do hear about these creative differences, no matter what, it's got to throw flags up for everybody all around.
That was actually the feedback. I think John was quoted by saying that. The reasons why he left is like, you know what, no harm, no foul if they don't do it, but for me personally. So yeah, so I think that's his stance.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Maybe you'll see your question pop up on an AMC Movie Talk episode, maybe on one of our weekend mailbag shows. But for now, let's see what's in the mailbag. So, Sinead, what do we got?
John Morgan writes, hey, AMC crew and council, you guys rock. John said on Jedi Council that there is starting to be too many books and comics that are Star Wars canon, and that there is starting to be multiple levels of canon. Most people already don't like the whole new canon thing, so why is canon even a thing? If everything from now on is canon, Disney just created a mess for themselves. So why can't the movies be the only canon, and then every other show, book, comic, or game be an opportunity for fans to create their own canon? I just think this much non-movie canon is going to come back and bite Disney in the butt. Thanks, and keep up the great work. Phase 3.
Yeah, I have always been concerned. Well, number one, I did like the fact that when Disney bought Lucasfilm, that one of the things that they did right away was instantly proclaim, just officially put a stamp on it. Hey guys, everything that's not the movies, not real. And they put this label on it called Legends. None of it was real. We always knew it wasn't real anyway, but they officially put the label on it. And I was intrigued by the notion that everything we do from now on, all the new books and all the new comics and all the new video games and obviously all the new movies are officially all canon. They all fit into each other. They're all canon now moving forward. That was an intriguing idea, but also one that concerned me. And I already this early on, the first movie isn't even out yet, and I'm seeing my concerns come to fruition. Yeah. We're already seeing like questions about certain things. We're seeing a few inconsistencies coming up, nothing major though. And here's my main concern, Maud, about this whole thing that everything is canon, including the comic books. And when you're saying that the comic books are canon, that means they have every bit level of authority as what happens in one of the movies. Here's my concern. Let's fast forward 5 years, right? Maybe 4 years even. And let's say, I don't know, Matt Vaughn Matthew Vaughn is directing a Star Wars movie.
This is
right?
your fantasy.
Right?
Yep.
It really is. Matthew Vaughn's directing a Star Wars movie, and he goes to Lucasfilm and goes, here's my treatment. This is what I want to do. This is my creative vision, and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, Pablo Hidalgo, who's kind of the gatekeeper of canon at Star Wars, and somebody else at Lucasfilm sit down with Matt Reeves and goes, yeah, this looks like it would be a great movie. But we can't do what you want to do here. You see, 3 years ago in Princess Leia, issue number 5, the comic book that all 19,000 people read, Princess Leia in a conversation with some other dude said this, which completely contradicts with what you want to do with this movie. So now Matt Reeves' vision of the movie is compromised because of something in Princess Leia, issue number 4, a comic book that came out 3 years ago that 19,000 people read. To me, they've just set themselves up for problems. Look, I am proclaiming it a failure before they've even done it. So who knows? Maybe this thing does work out great and they're able to do it very smoothly and all that kind of stuff. But I think they have set themselves up for failure. I think within 2 or 3 years, we're going to hear them back down and say, okay, yeah, there are multiple levels of canon. There's, and that's what we had before, right? We had certain things were canon, but then there was only one G canon, and G canon meant George, which meant the movies, and I think we're probably going to slip back into that. I just feel like they set themselves up for failure. So I totally agree with what you're saying. Anyway, Maud, how do you, as a resident Star Wars nerd here,
fellow
how do you
council
feel
member?
about that? Yeah, fellow council member.
Look, I do share some of your opinions with this. I think that by claiming everything to be factual and true now, when you are seeing comics and books and, so much
Video
happening.
games.
Yeah, and then these are all different people working on it. So it's everyone's creative input that then defines particular characters and personality traits, et cetera, et cetera. I think that because they are coming out very, very fast, things that happen now, you're right, in 3-4 years down the track, they have to adhere to these strict guidelines. And this is already becoming a problem from the movies, the prequels and the original trilogy. You see things that weren't consistent from the original trilogy to the prequels, and that's jarring now, but they're both canon. So I feel like whatever they put out now almost is patchwork to try and either fix these particular problems or strict guidelines. And I think that if they keep putting out a book every 3 months, a comic book every week, 4 different
Titles?
Titles of comics now, and then the video games as well. You're right. There's just too many variables and something won't add up eventually. So I think unless they have a flexibility within the canon, or there's a bit of a gray, which ends up becoming layers of canon, as you say. And my favorite thing is, if you are a Jedi Council fan, you'll notice John will go,
I smell.
what's that smell? I smell layers of canon. That was a terrible John Campea impersonation, but
It was not bad. That was not bad, actually. That's a pretty good John Campbell.
Well, one of the things that John Morgan asked was Disney's creating a mess for themselves. They are creating a mess, but it's a financially successful mess. I mean, the fact that you label something canon now means that more people want to buy the book because they want to be caught up with the movies, which is where my concern lies. Look, I love Star Wars made me the person I am today. I love those movies more than a lot of people that I know in my life. I do not read that many of the books. I read some when I was a kid. I read some of the comic books. I enjoy Star Wars Rebels. I'm here for the movies, mainly. When I go to Star Wars Celebration,
Amen.
I'm here for the films. Now, my concern is that now there's all this canon that's coming out, even before The Force Awakens. So me, as somebody, I'm a busy guy. I know I don't look like it. I know I like naps. I'm a busy dude. I don't have time to sit down and read or even listen on audiobook to everything that's canon leading up to The Force Awakens. So when I go see The Force Awakens, am I going to have to know? Did I have to do homework before I saw any of these movies? That's my concern, is that I think it's great that you can immerse yourself as deeply as you want in the Star Wars universe. And I have faith in J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy and everybody over there that they're doing this like Marvel does it, where you can be a huge comic book nerd or you can never have read a comic book called The Avengers and still enjoy the movies.
Yeah.
And I think what Jedi Council does, what you two and Christian do great so far, is that you guys appreciate all the canon, you devour the canon, but you don't spoil all the things that are in there, because sometimes the mysteries of a movie are the coolest things about it. Remember, we didn't know that Darth Vader's Luke Skywalker's father. We didn't know that Luke made out with his sister in
Jeez,
Empire
Mark,
Strikes
spoilers
Back.
for people. Come
Spoiler
on.
alerts, kids. But then all of a sudden, if Chewbacca shows up with fur that got dyed pink in Episode 7, did I have to read something? Or are they going to explain how this all happened? So as long as the storytelling in the films is not compromised by the canon, then I'm totally cool with everything being canon. Make as many Star Wars products as you want, because it's a great universe to immerse yourself in.
like your concern about will it compromise the viewers going to go see the new movies.
Yeah.
My concern is, our future directors of these films going to be creatively handcuffed, because now they not only have to stay consistent with the movies, they have to stay consistent with 300 issues of comic books and 45 novels and blah, blah, blah. I don't see a way out of it.
Well, I do. The universe is endless. They're just going to have more and more, expansions. It's going to be the tale of Leia's second cousin's dog, or things like that. That's why they brought in a new team, Rebels. So then you've got a whole nother band of misfits that you can go into details with, and their families and their relationships. And then that'll go further and further. And then we might go back 5,000 years to Old Republic. Like, there's a lot of room to keep expanding upon.
But you can never contradict yourself.
Exactly.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. All right, folks, listen, we also love to take your questions via Twitter. So hop on Twitter, tweet out a question. Just make sure when you write out your question, include the hashtag AMC Movie Talk so we make sure we can see it. So hop on Twitter, send out a question, use the hashtag AMC Movie Talk, and maybe you'll see your tweet on our show. So Sinead, what's in the Twitter sphere?
Steve Seeley tweets, is Mad Max Fury Road a sequel or a reboot?
From what I understand, both from reading about the project and in talking to John Schnepp, who has seen the film, it is a sequel. Although it is not a sequel to number 3, which was Beyond the Thunderdome. Was that the third one? Yeah.
Yeah, that was the third one.
It is not a sequel to Beyond the Thunderdome. It's a sequel to the second Mad Max film. It's a very loose sequel, but he said that's kind of where it fits in. So it is, in one sense, they are restarting the franchise. So in a sense, it's a reboot, but I think it's more accurately described as kind of a re-envisioning of a sequel to what would have been part 2 of the, a little complicated, but look, ultimately, people have always also been asking, do you need to see the original Mad Max movies to understand this film? The answer to that is an absolute no. You can go into this movie not knowing anything about the other Mad Max movies, and you will be just fine. Now, it'll give you a little bit more color. It'll give you a little bit more background, a little bit more, maybe a little bit more depth if you did see the original Mad Max films first. But don't worry about it. You are completely safe walking into this movie without seeing the other ones totally. Maud, what do you think?
All I know is that there's a video game coming out. So as far as I'm aware, this is a franchise expansion. They are giving it the breath of life, and it's like a brand new generation to enjoy this again. Whether it's a sequel or not, like you said, almost irrelevant if you aren't a diehard, because you can enjoy this for the first time and become a new fan in every way, whether it is in a virtual world or whether it's on a screen. So yeah, I just say enjoy it. It's not, if anything, it's mandatory viewing, because this one's going to change things up, I feel.
Mark?
Tina Turner will be the fourth lead in Fury Road. No, yeah, that's the same way I understand it. They explained it perfectly. That's why you didn't need me in this particular segment.
All right, what's next?
Reggie Smith tweets, any news about Green Lantern?
Yeah, okay, so the last thing I heard, and by yeah, I mean no. The last I heard, okay, and these were just completely unsubstantiated rumors, but was that the studios were looking at Chris Pine. That's the last I heard. The studio's looking at Chris Pine for Green Lantern, which is not a bad choice if that rumor was true. Remember, Green Lantern is still 3 or 4 years away. If everything goes according to plan with DC's roadmap. Because, if Batman v Superman comes out, and look, I believe it's going to be awesome, but if it comes out and it's horrible or whatever, they're going to change plans. That's what Warner Brothers does. They'll change plans if things go bad. But if things stay according to plan, we're still not looking at a Green Lantern for another 3 or 4 years, which means they don't need to have an actor picked for it yet. But that is the last word I heard on the Green Lantern, was that they were looking at Christopher Pine. What's interesting, though, is if that is true, and that's a huge if they really were looking at Chris Pine, I think that points to the fact that they will probably use as their Green Lantern, not Kyle Rayner,
Hal Jordan,
not Guy Gardner, not John Stewart, but rather Hal Jordan. Yeah. And which would make me happy, because to me, Hal Jordan is the Green Lantern. He's a quintessential Green Lantern. But have you guys heard anything else about Green Lantern other than that?
No, I haven't. But I think you make a great point, is that we don't need casting just yet. We do have to decide which one we're going to go with. If we're going to go with Hal Jordan or John Stewart or whoever else. And not every casting is going to be like The Rock playing Shazam. It's not, or Black Adam. It's not always going to be 4 years down the road. Right. So let's get these DC movies up and running, and then we'll worry about the casting.
From I think, superhero men hot viewpoint, we've got Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, Chris Pine. Oh my gosh, it's like collecting chess pieces.
You just broke the Da Vinci Code. It's obvious. It is going to be Chris Pine. Heavens. All right, what's next? Last one.
James Fryer tweets, when you see a movie early, can you tell people your general feel for the film, or can you not say anything whatsoever about it?
It really depends. Sometimes the studios will invite us to come see a movie like a week in advance, and you can start putting out your reviews right away. Sometimes like the three of us at this table, we get to go invited to go see a movie like 3 weeks in advance. We're going to go see Avengers tomorrow. Are you going to see Avengers tomorrow?
No, and why don't you rub it in even more?
Okay, so the cool kids at the table get to go see Avengers tomorrow. Mark and I are going to go see Avengers tomorrow, and there is what they call an embargo. Now, what that means is the studio is basically saying, okay, we're going to let you come. We're going to invite you to come in and watch this movie really early, but by coming to watch it this early, you have to agree that you are not going to talk about this movie until a certain date. And that's called the embargo date. And then once you hit that date, then you're free to talk about it. So a lot of people have been asking us on Twitter and whatever, please, as soon as you come out, tell us what you think of the movie. We can't. We're going to come out of the movie and we're not going to be able to tweet about it. We're not going to be able to talk about it. We're not going to be able to do a review of it yet. Probably for another week and a half or 2 weeks till after we see it. Do you know what the embargo date is? I can't remember what it is yet.
It's a couple weeks before it comes out.
So maybe only like a week after.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be able to talk about it, I think probably a week and a half, maybe 10, 12 days after we see it tomorrow night. But I mean, it's part of the honor system too, is that like we're not going to do that because we like getting to see movies early. And it's a unique experience. Plus, the studios always have a certain way that they're going to promote and market a film. And I have enough trust in consumers to be able to see through that if the movie doesn't look good or if it doesn't. Plus, sometimes the embargo date is that day. You can't post your review until the movie actually comes out, and it's usually a red flag. If you see something, if you're reading a newspaper, you're online, and you say, "Oh, this wasn't screened for critics in time for its release," it's probably not a big red flag. So that's not going to happen with Avengers. But just know that when we see things super early, sometimes we can't always even tweet an emoji about it, which we really, really want.
And sometimes it goes the other way. I remember when I saw the first press screening for 21 Jump Street. It was about 3 weeks before the movie came out, and there was an embargo until like 3 days before the movie came out. And a bunch of us press, about 100 of us went in to see it, and we all came out buzzing. Like we all loved it because we all thought that movie was going to suck. And we all came out buzzing and like really happy and laughing, and we were all standing around the foyer of the theater and talking about it and blah, blah, talking with the publicist as well, saying, hey, good job, tell your other people at the studio, good job, this is great. And then the next morning, we get an email from the good folks. I think it was Universal. We get an email from them saying, "Hey guys, embargo's lifted. Go ahead and start talking about your reactions." If we all come out, I won't be surprised if we all come out of Avengers tomorrow, and we have that type of an atmosphere, because I think that happened with the first Avengers movie. I think we all went to go see the first Avengers movie at the El Capitan in Hollywood for the press screening, and everybody, I was shaking. I was so happy with it. I think they then emailed us a day or two later and said, "Hey guys, you're free to start sharing your reactions."
Yes, sometimes they will, especially if the reaction is that positive. Sometimes they won't, though. I came out of Django Unchained. Christian and I both saw it really early. We loved it, but you still weren't allowed to talk about it for whatever reason. They have their ways. They
have their timing. They have their schedule.
Yeah. They have their studio heads that wear suits and wake up early and go to the gym, and they're good people.
Do you think when you come out of the theater on Thursday? Oh wait, you can't go. You're not going.
Oh my God! Wow. Don't worry, Maud. I'll tell you everything.
Anyway, folks, that will do it for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining. I have been given the hand. Thank you so much for joining us in this installment. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters. Hop on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. Like tomorrow night, if you're not going to see Avengers, Maud, you can use amctheaters.com to see something else.
Why did you do this to me?
And of course, listen, also don't forget, if you want an audio only version of this episode, make sure you look in the description of this video for our podcast feed so you can listen to us on the way to work, but then you can't see Maud's panda face. And also face when I talk about the Avengers that we're seeing again tomorrow night, which is also, you're missing out the thing. I want to thank the people sitting at the table with me. First of all, of course, sitting over here, the girl with the panda sweater, Miss Maud Garrett. Maud, where can people find you online?
Hey guys, you can have a chat with me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that jazz, at Maud Garrett.
And from what I understand, she will be at home online tomorrow night because she has no other plans. Sitting over here, Mr. Mark Ballas. Mark, where can people find you online?
He just walked
walked off the set.
You can catch me tied up and gagged in Maud's trunk after she gets so upset at me that I saw the Avengers before her. And you can also go 5150Ls on Twitter and Instagram. While you're on iTunes getting the podcast, you can get my comedy album, Get to the Castle.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Sinead DeFries. Sinead, where can people find you online? Maud is gone.
She's laying on the floor. You guys can't see it, but she is on the floor. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Sinead DeFries and at thatsosinead.com.
And you can follow me on Facebook and on Twitter and all the various social media networks just at John Campea. That'll do it for the three of us at the table and Maude over there weeping silently. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name is John Campea. For AMC Movie News. Until next time. Bye-bye.